My name is Robert Christopher Wayne Weathers. I live at 3102 Central Hill Road, Acre, Mississippi, 38841. I am under attack. People are driving parasites through me and my family from a remote location. I can also hear their voices. They are very hostile and demeaning. They keep threatening me and my family. They harass me constantly. They are trying to come up with some false narrative which says that I've done something wrong and somehow justifies their criminal behavior towards me. They are premeditating our deaths. This is what I have experienced. This appears to be Scientology, or people using Scientology's technology. So it appears that there's more space in the universe than humans can see. There are 11 dimensions. These dimensions reside within the particle itself. So you can consider our third dimensional universe as a shell. All the matter in which is in the universe is just a shell or another place. Inside of this matter in which we consist of lies another place. There are 11 dimensions here. They call this the inverse. We have biology in these other dimensions. 11 dimensional biology. When we die, we utilize this biology to have an afterlife. We leave ourselves. We remove our biology from ourselves and fly into outer space, leaving nothing but the shell behind. Yes, we can fly in the afterlife. We have powerful eyesight. We can see in all dimensions down to the molecular level. We can even do molecular transfer, so we can move particles around with our eyes, with our mind. This is what I have observed. So Scientology is the practice of utilizing this extra dimensional biology before we die. They remove it from themselves and they utilize technology and techniques to turn it into an upper dimensional being. So they create biologies in which they can drive around in the upper dimensions. First off, there is an entanglement property between our third dimension and our inner dimensions. So if you remove a part of our biology from ourselves, no matter how far away you take it, you are still in this biology. So they use this entanglement property as part of their techniques. So first off, they like to remove part of their biology, especially brain stems, our thalamus, and their extra dimensional eyes, parts of it. And they have a compound on Earth, which is a storage system that houses biology. They have little pods, little boxes. They install their biology in these pods and they install it into a computer system. From there, they can interface themselves to a computer system. They use electrodes and sensors and digital devices. From here, they can communicate with each other, interact with each other in a digital landscape. They also use this technique as a command center in which they can drive their upper dimensions. So these Scientologists removed their extra dimensions from themselves and they turned it into an upper dimensional vehicle in which they can drive around. So our biologies come to us in layers. They form in layers. In the next three dimensions after our third, it creates another biology. And then it crosses a boundary and expands into the next three dimensions, and it creates a layer over top of that biology. And then it expands into the next three dimensions and creates another layer, and so on and so forth. So these Scientologists like to cut themselves along the layers. They remove these layers from themselves. And they wind up with three or four biologies in the extra dimensions that they can utilize as vehicles. But they can't function properly being cut this way and modified this way. So they have to use organs and tissues from other humans and other organisms to to modify themselves into a functional organism. So they use organs and tissues from humans, reptiles or lizards, insects, and worms. They make several types of alien forms. They make lizard people, they make insectoids, and they make worm people. And then on top of this, their biologies can no longer function properly. So when we die, we pull the whole thing into ourselves, our whole biology. We pull it into ourselves and face in the opposite direction.
baby.
So these Scientologists are criminal. They like to kidnap people, exploit people, they traffic humans, they steal biology from people, they force assimilation upon people. So if you have influence, power, or authority, or you are attractive to these people in any way, they like to force you to assimilate, and then they will exploit you. So they will exploit your employment profession, your power, your authority, or your influence. And sometimes they even kidnap people for sexual purposes. And they traffic humans for the same reasons and for biological theft. Torture and rape is rampant among these people. Yes, no one polices the upper dimensions. No one polices these people. They can do it from a remote location. No one can see them doing it. They can steal your extra dimensions and subject you to all kinds of environments and stimulation. They can install devices on you, mutilate your biology. They like to give people parasites, and microbes, and viruses because they can drive these organisms. It is part of their technology. They can drive other biologies besides their own. They call these surrogates. They can drive humans, animals, insects, worms, and even microbial life, including viruses. They are actually genetically engineering these parasites and microbes as weapons. They are weapons of mass destruction, biological warfare. So there are a lot of combat professionals in the hive. The CIA, the FBI, and especially the military. They are literally attacking American citizens in mass. So this corona outbreak is I have evidence that that they are responsible for it. And it is largely probably another organism that is responsible for most of these deaths. They have genetically engineered bagworms, kingfishers, A-worms, trailing worms, and other types of parasites and microbes. They like to destroy private property. They like to contaminate our food and water supplies with these biological weapons and contaminants. Yes, they murder people a lot. And they create surrogates often just for criminal activity. Yes, it is a sport to some of these people. Torture and rape and murder. So because of this entanglement property, if they steal your biology, you are still in this biology no matter how far away it goes from you. What happens is as your biology leaves you, space time between you and your biology shrinks. So as they take it away from you, space time is shrinking between you and your biology. It literally puts you in their environment wherever they take you. So now they can interfere with you in a remote from a remote location. They can manipulate you or do whatever they want to you from a remote location. And they can also do this with our homes and the land in which we occupy. It the same function applies. It literally puts our environment in at a remote location. Yes, they have done this to my environment. They have removed my home and my land in the extra dimensions, and they have put other land from another place here. So this behavior and their psychology stems mainly from the fact that they put their hands on people for a living. So they are practicing Scientology, which involves removing biology from organisms, either to help them practice Scientology or to create surrogates. They steal biologies from people, or they help people access the upper dimensions. Then they create surrogates. Then a lot of them are driving this war tech or biological weapon. And then this technology that they use, it has a severely negative effect on our psychology. For one, you are in a hive mind with very dangerous people. So their psychology has an effect on the rest of the hive members. You have to experience their psychology. Not to mention they are trying to control people's behavior. And then this technology artificially stimulates our neural tissue. So they can stimulate brain areas of the brain like our emotional center. They can make us cry or feel joy or make us irritable or angry. They can stimulate thought patterns, especially ones that they want to utilize to control your behavior. So if you have conditioned yourself for any kind of criminal activity or like biological theft or mutilation or violence, they can isolate these thought patterns and stimulate them in an attempt to control your behavior. And then on top of this, this technology elevates our neurochemistry. So it elevates neurochemicals like dopamine, norepinephrine, serotonin. It has an extremely narcotic-like effect upon the user. And high dopamine levels causes psychological issues like addictive behavior, irritability, psychosis, delusions, and it exacerbates psychological issues like pettiness, jealousy, greed, machoism. And this artificial stimulation can also elevate hormones. It can stimulate our endocrine system and our glands and our organs. It can elevate hormones like testosterone and estrogen, which has a whole nother host of psychological issues within these people, like machoism or extreme emotional behavior, heightened emotions. So I used to be a political activist on social media. I participated in politics a lot. I had a large following. There was a large group of people that discussed public officials or elected officials. We discussed lawmaking and policy and environmental issues. And I'm also an author. So I'm part Native American. My Native American name is Crazy Bird. I write a lot of literature. I inspired a lot of people. I helped a lot of people write their own literature. Then I got forced to assimilate. So when these people force us to assimilate, they try to take over our lives. Whatever reason that led to our assimilation, they try to exploit this in us. So if it's influence or power or authority or an employment position, a job position, you have some kind of employment uh, authority that they need or that is attractive to them, or you are just attracted to them. Paparazzi, they paparazzi people. So it didn't go too well. I told them to get away from me, leave me alone. More and more people came and they became more and more hostile. I started yelling at them. They started threatening my life and my liberty. Then the conflict continued, and it continued for several days. Then it eventually quieted down, but it became apparent that the public was invading my privacy, that the world could see into my environment and read my thoughts. They started stealing my intellectual property, the things I was working on. I became severely ill shortly after assimilation. So I started to feel foreign objects stuck inside of my ear, my face, my head, my neck. So I started going to the hospital, getting scans done to try to have it removed. They couldn't find anything, but I could feel it there. My face warped. Whole side of my face swelled up. My eyes became lazy. I became violently ill. As time went on, they communicated with me every so often, and it was hostile, very negative. They made me fear for my life. Then as time went on, they stole more and more intellectual property. So I wrote Crazy Bird Comics. I wrote The Environment Creation Agency. I wrote Divine Currency or Buffalo Dollars. I wrote Alien Bob, Bug Bob, and several others. I write a lot and I'll study a lot. So these people got to watch me create and write literature, and they became attracted to it. They became attracted to my psychology, my ability to process information, think properly, my philosophy. And then they assimilated me even more. So I started to actually see things and hear things. So I started to see organisms all around me in my environment. So I started to see these alien forms. And then they gave me an internal screen which links everyone together. We get to have FaceTime with each other, communication device, and hear each other. Yes, they polished my eyeballs or something. They allowed me to see them. So there are lizard people, there are insectoids, bug people, there are uh, worm people, alien forms, and then these people make surrogates, all different shapes and sizes. So then they started to steal my extra dimensional biology. They wanted to utilize my psychology for themselves, my ability to create and write literature. They actually removed my extra dimensional brain tissue and utilized it as a transplant for themselves. and some of it they use for surrogate purposes, and some of it they're using for torture purposes. I'm extremely sick. So some of my biology is locked out of entropy, falling through space-time, covered in chemicals, it's full of parasites and contaminants. They have torture devices stuck all in me, my upper dimensions and down here, and they just leave them there. Causes me pain and suffering. Yes, and I'm on some kind of life support because I've been cut to pieces. If I leave, it gets worse out there. It's just like it did a while ago. No matter how far away I get, they made sure that I didn't have a source of transportation or any source of income, so they could do this to me. They didn't want me to be able to succeed or run away or get away from them. I am extremely ill. So they're doing this to my family too, especially my pets. Me and my pets. Oh, I'm very ill. I have severe brain damage, nerve and organ damage in all dimensions. They have contaminated my food and water supply, which hinders my ability to get clean or heal properly. I'm being threatened right now. They're threatening my life or my health. So these people call themselves Preservision, Yumas, and the Lizard Company. Yes, or this could be nanotech. They could somehow have slipped me some kind of nanotech or technology in the third dimension that makes me hear and see things and feel weird sensations. Yes, I've actually seen it. I've been in a hive for 13 years. I have seen our dead people, Anunnakis. I have flown with Anunnakis. The human genome produces an 11-dimensional organism with horns on our head. We have a head covering that grows out of our forehead. It covers our head. It has horns. It is there so we can survive the extremities of outer space. It is another layer of protection. We have short arms and big hands. We have extra dimensional organs like soul tubes and extra dimensional brain features and organs. We have giant hearts and lungs. We have these tubes that come out of our legs. They're there to expel waste. These Scientologists cut this Anunnaki off of themselves, cut it to pieces, so they can go to heaven before they die. I'm being harassed and threatened, showing them dropping me or assaulting me in some way. They are assaulting me from a remote location and also at my home. Yes, they can. One of them says he claims to have authority in our government, and he says we let them have their fun. Now I'm getting victim shamed. They're saying it's my fault somehow. Are you seriously representing the United States government? Saying, yeah, killing people, innocent people. I'm getting sick.